Hey Virgos, welcome and welcome back to the Honey Sea Star and happy Mother's Day. Now, full disclaimer, I just want to say this message is not for everyone. So if it's too much, if it doesn't resonate, by all means, feel free to click off. You're not going to hurt my feelings at all. I promise. Before we get started though, I also want to say thank you guys to each and every one of you for all the ways that you support this channel and show your love to this channel. Truly, it means the world. I feel so blessed to have each one of you here. And I love you back. And so happy Mother's Day. Now, this message is for all the mothers that have lost a child or have struggled with infertilities, or even my transgender feminines who stand in their divine feminine and due to physical limitations can't birth a child naturally, right? This message really is from my personal experience. So I don't talk a lot about my story, but I have, like everyone, a unique story, a unique path. And I had a lot of trauma when I was younger. And there's a lot of generational pain, generational curses that have been passed down in my family. And because of it, infertility is one of them. My system never worked right. And I had endometriosis, a very severe case that led towards not only getting the pleasure of having menopause 3 times, just saying, fun story. Plan to write a book one day. But it led to me basically having a bilateral oophorectomy and a hysterectomy by the age of 22. So I was still very much a baby. I wasn't ready to have kids when I had to unfortunately go through the loss of not being able to bring my babies into the world. And I use Mother's Day as my day to connect with them. And I was very blessed in my younger years to be able to have my mom share that with me, share this day with me, and really connect with my babies who are watching over me. And so the first thing I want to say is, if you use Mother's Day in this way as well, to connect, to grieve, to remember, to send your love, they are being cared for. They are loved, and they are watching over you just as much as mine are watching over me. And so this message really is for the mothers who have unfortunately had to deal with the pain, endure the pain and the experience, the loss, the grief of not being able to really bring their own children into the world and experience that growth with them. And so, Spirit, thank you. This is really about love. This is about loss of love, but it's also coming to terms with that duality of the masculine and the feminine, the pain and the love, the high vibrations and the low vibrations, that Geminian energy of dualities, to find balance and harmony through that pain. And more importantly, to really open that heart chakra to the experience in knowing that you are not alone. You may not see each other in this life, but we are always connected. We are always entangled with our love. And love is the one thing that transcends time and space and overcomes grief, overcomes loss, and helps us love again. You know, I've been blessed in many ways where I may not be able to have my own children in life, but I am very blessed where, for some odd reason, kids tend to gravitate towards me through a push and pull. I've been able to be a mentor. I've been able to be a teacher. I've been able to be a comforter. And it's offered me a new beginning that I never would have dreamed of had I not gone through that. This is where I can pass on, you can pass on your spirituality, your love, your opportunities through the relationships, through the children in this life that are guided towards you. And through that love that you hold, again, both heart chakras, you're able to really manifest, to really utilize all of the love to help guide people through those losses, through those frustrations, in infertility aspects in my case, but say you've had to unfortunately lose a child that you did bring into the world. This is where it's coming to the idea and the unity that you are still connected. You are still here with them, and they are still with you, watching over you every day and in every way. For good or bad, they are always here, and they are always part of your family. This is where it's a familial bliss. This is what you're able to offer not only to you, to yourself, to others, to your foundations, but it helps you with passing on that foundation to others to bring stability again to once what was unstable. And so if you are grieving the loss of a child, if you're grieving, and I tell you, so for me at 22, my friends were just starting to have babies of their own. So to try and get a support system, to experience a support system that knew what I was going through, to grieve somebody that you'll never get to actually physically touch, physically experience, was like out of this world, too much for people to really navigate with me. And I am very blessed that my mom was able to be there with me and to be willing to share that with me, because she embraced that loss just as much as I did with her loss of not being able to have her own grandchildren, right? And instead we were able to come together on Mother's Day to really acknowledge, to remember, to celebrate those children, those grandchildren that may not be part of this world in this life, but that are always with us in our hearts, that are always with us in our peace, and that are always with us in our bliss when it comes to looking at the stability and the foundations of what family means to us. And if that resonates, by all means, put a heart in the comments below, share your story in the comments below, because I know that this is something that culturally we don't talk about a lot. And I will also say too, for those that don't go through it, it's very difficult for people to understand. I will say, like I said before, I got to go through menopause 3 times. So once was medicinally, when I was still trying to be able to save my ovaries, even for the potential of a surrogate. And the man that I was with, he was my first love. His sister was kind enough to even say that she was willing to be our surrogate when we were ready to have kids. Because again, we were young. We were in our early 20s when I started going through this. But truly, I had been going through this since I was 8 years old, when my system really started exhibiting signs of endometriosis. And in my family as well, my aunts had gone through this as well. And at the time, as an example, one of my aunts, what they do for medicinal menopause is they basically give you a shot, a Lupron Depot as they call it, and overnight your hormones shut down. And let me tell you, if you think menopause, for those that have gone through it, put a heart in the comments below. I'm just saying, I feel you ladies, because it basically, you have time when it's natural to adjust. When it's overnight, it's like hormonal hell. Sorry, I said it. I swore. Hormonal heck. But it's a very unpleasant experience, especially when I had a hot flash. Oh my goodness. I knew I was either going to throw up or faint in approximately 2 seconds. It was radical. It was extreme. And oh my goodness, my emotions were all over the place in the way that it was just, there was no grounding. That was the hardest part to suffer through with it. And then as time went on and I wasn't able to save my ovaries, and I had to go through my oophorectomies and have them removed as well on top of my uterus, then I got to go through what they call a radical menopause. And so again, it's like overnight, your body adjusts. And let me tell you, I know this is TMI. Like I say, if this message is not for you, it's okay. I get it. But I swear, my body changed so much. I went through 4 cup sizes in 1 year, and I swear, I gave up on bras at a certain point. But there were strengths that I gained from it, right? For all that pain, for all that loss that I got to experience with it. What they really truly say is, and I had to fight for my hysterectomy too. So what they say in the medical world is that typically they don't give you a hysterectomy for a young woman until you're at least the age of 30 or you have 2 children. And it's because that loss, that grief, not only for your children, but for the loss, you actually experience a loss of not feeling whole, with not having that uterus, that ability to reproduce as a woman, as your divine feminine. And so they typically want you to either be in a hormonal balance in your late 30s, that's more natural to, or more aligns more naturally to a natural menopausal situation and transition. And so it's one of these things where, again, it happens overnight. And it almost, for as much as I was prepared for it, if my system had I like I say, I had to fight for this. I had to go and get second opinions and really have a doctor being willing to not only help prepare me, but be willing to know what I was, to be there through those transitions of what I was standing up against, the turmoil and heck that my body was going to be going through. And that support system was so crucial. And I, to this day, still remember my nurses. Like, I was in so much pain. There were points in this that, with how bad my endometriosis was, I had lost my feeling in my right leg. I wasn't able to walk. There were points where my body just was like an internal war. And I was calling so often that these nurses, not only, I didn't even have to say my name when I called in. Because of course, here I am, I'm a young lady in my 20s, in my late teens, trying to work and not financially stable in that way. And so I had to consistently, in order to keep my job, work with my doctors, work with my nurses. And I called so often because of it, because it was so extreme, that they didn't even need my name. They knew me by voice. And I tell you what, these ladies were my rocks. They were my earth angels, and they knew me and were able to support me in ways that even after years of my hysterectomy, when I would call in, experiencing new transitions to my hormone replacement therapy, they still remembered me. They still remembered my story. And in the state that I'm in, there were actually only 2 doctors that specialized in infertility and that specialized in this area of expertise. And like I say, without them, without these earth angels, I would have been lost. And it was a hard choice because, you also have to be prepared for the idea that you're not only just giving up your ability to have children, you're changing your body, and you're forced with the consequence of having to choose through the wisdom of choosing quality versus quantity in your life. And so my body went through a rapid aging process, a rapid transition, not only just the bras, but like I say, when you're looking at your bone density loss, when you're looking at your heart risks, when you're looking at cancer risks, all of these they got to prepare me for. And because of it, I had the strength, because I had the support system, to find that temperance, to find that peace and that healing, despite the trials, despite the hardships, despite the radical transitions that were really like an internal battle, a war going on in my body, with my body, and also with my heart. And I tell you what, it was probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to go through. But I am so grateful that they were my rock and they were my fire. They gave me my wicked wit. They taught me, I should say rather, to take this on in stride with wicked humor. And so I still, to this day, that is why I have my wicked humor, is because of the strength of these ladies that they instilled me with raising me up, with supporting me. And it basically enabled me that out of all things, when standing up against adversity, to stand and laugh at the devil, to stand and laugh at the wars being waged against you, got me through and gave me the strength that led to my temperance, that led to my peace, that led to my new beginning, and also led to my foundation. And like I say, I could not have done this alone. Now, truth be told too, 'cause like I say, I was with a gentleman at the time, and the other hard part about it was when I came home from my surgery, he really expected me that once my body was healed, everything would be fine. There was no acknowledgement or support, unfortunately. He wasn't able to wrap his brain and his heart around the idea of this wasn't just a physical thing. There's a grief, there's a loss involved with it. And it's a huge expectation in a lot of ways too, especially when you're so young, especially when you're asking something like that from somebody, to be able to really stand up against something that is so much that you're too young to understand. And unfortunately for me, I went into my surgery and he said that I was enough. And for the record, I do not blame him for this at all. I'm not speaking from that place by any means. But when I came home from the hospital, unfortunately for me, but also fortunately for him, he had tackled, he tried his best to come to terms with not being able to have kids. And he found it was really important for him to have his own biological children. So, like I say, even though his sister had prepared us for the potential of being our surrogate, we did not last. Now, he has a family with actually his first love, which I think is his first love. But either way, I find it extremely beautiful that she was able to be that gift for him, to raise a family with him and walk through that life. But this is also where I was able to let it go. This is where I was able to say, you know what? This transformation wasn't meant to be for us to walk through together. But more importantly, I was able to liberate myself from that pain and start anew, to transform once again. And like I say, I've been very blessed where even though I walk through a life that is unique, out of the norm, out of the expectation of what a typical, expectation of a woman is, I was able to use my foresight and choose quality over quantity. I was able to learn self-discipline, manage the internal war that was going through me, and more importantly, it led me to a place of leadership through connecting with spirit. And that's the thing, when you lose somebody before they're even born, when you lose your own child, one of the hardest, worst things that you can deal to somebody as a blow is to have to bury your own children. And don't get me wrong, it took me many, many years of healing, many years of work to be able to come and embrace that truth. And like I say, I don't voice it very often to people, but it took me a very long time to open up that throat chakra again, to feel comfortable to speak about it, to embrace it as my story, and to let others know the pain that I've gone through. And same thing with doing it on this video. This is the first time I've ever really publicly announced it in this type of a fashion. And this is where I was able to go towards a place of mastery by embracing the nurturing qualities within me. And I was blessed tenfold over, where there are so many children out there that for some odd reason have gravitated towards me. I've been able to create that safe space for them so that I can be a mentor, I can be a nurturer, and I can support them and help them find balances through confusions, through learning opportunities, through self-regulations. And so that's why I really wanted to put this video out, because it's a story, it's a transition, and it's a road that really makes you feel alone. But the biggest thing about this message is that if anyone has struggled with infertility or having to say goodbye to their children too soon, to not be able to experience having their own children, and really continue and build that family, especially as I go into my later years, this is really where you stand in your strength. This is where you are not alone. There is balance. There's truth with it. There's equity with it. But there's also harmony that you can come into once again, because your children are watched over. Your children are loved, and they watch over you in turn each and every day. And like I say, for me, I've had the privilege of getting to experience that in my life as well along my journey with my own mom. I still remember the first day that she had her, because like I say, I've gone through menopause 3 times. So first was hormonally, second was surgically, and then when I had my surgery, at least at the time, medicinal medicine in the Midwest, or in Western medicine, I should say, they tell you and they prepare you that you need to be on hormone replacement therapy until you're at least 35. That way you can go through menopause naturally like a normal woman would. Well, what I knew, or what I know now, what they are learning, because the female reproductive system is the least explored in modern medicine, is that your system actually self-corrects. And so at a certain point, I found that my pituitary, my adrenal gland, I should say, picked up as well. So first things first, you get to go through the adjustment of having way too much testosterone. It calms down. More importantly, I call it backwards puberty. So like I say, wicked humor, fun thing about menopause, you grow hair in funny places, your voice changes, gravity takes over where different parts of you develop. But the hardest thing that they did not know or weren't able to prepare me for is that your body self-corrects. And so as my pituitary gland started reproducing my hormones and picking up that production, I was able to, and actually needed to, get off of hormone replacement therapy. It started with the progesterone, and then eventually it was too much estrogen, and so I had to go off of estrogen, and so now I'm on neither. And again, there's quality over quantity in my life. I am not going to be that blessed person that lives until they're 100 years old. I'm probably going to be very lucky if I get to make it till my 60s. And in all the studies that I've been able to do, really it's about, I think about 55 when we start really running into trouble when you go into menopause so early. But as my system was picking up and my hormone replacement therapy was lessened where I didn't need it anymore, that is another opportunity for menopause. So like I say, I'll write a book one day about it, but I've gotten the opportunity, and I say it very humorously, that I've gotten the opportunity to go through menopause 3 times. And then I also got the opportunity to walk my mom through menopause. And like I say, I take it with humor. It truly was a gift in a lot of ways. I got to be her support system where she was my support system. We got to share Mother's Day to really grieve and connect with the children, the grandchildren that we'll never get to see and experience in this life. But that's where we were able to together overcome what was blocked in growth between us and in that loss, in that grief. We could end that pain through coming together in that love and sharing that grief. And I am so grateful for her for being brave enough to go through it with me. Because like I say, when you go through it in your 20s, there's not a lot of people who understand what you're going through. You're kind of this one in, statistically, I think it's like 1 in, I can't remember now actually, a couple 100,000 people. And don't get me wrong, I've been very much ridiculed through my life too when I don't explain this. Because people walk into this kind of situation when, especially at my age that I'm in now, and they look at me and they're like, oh, okay, so you're not married. You don't have kids. There must be something wrong with you. I've been called a spinster. I've been told, especially with the politics that really got rivaled in diversities and not being accepted in diversities, where I was that single lady, or I'm sorry, the childless cat lady, I believe is how it's put. Hopefully, as a word to the wise, for whoever has ever called anyone a childless cat lady, ask yourselves why they don't have kids, because a lot of them may give you a different reason. And especially, I mean, there's so many reasons where they don't need to explain themselves to you, right? They may have had to give their kids up for adoption due to whatever they're going through in their own experience, where they weren't able to have a kid, weren't ready to have a kid, or in infertility's cases, aren't able to have children of their own. This is where really the motivation behind it, understanding where they're coming from, can end that diversity, and more importantly, can hopefully make you think twice about judging people based on the surface without knowing what their story is. Just saying. And this is really about a realization that not necessarily everything comes from choice, but sometimes life throws you these curveballs. And in every piece of adversity, in every piece of grief, every piece of pain, there is a place that leads to salvation, and more importantly, leads to sovereignty. This is where I was able to, in a lot of ways, especially not being financially as I'm sure as you could imagine, working was very difficult for me at that time physically. And as much as I tried, it really didn't allow me in my 20s to develop my career in the way that I wanted to due to physical limitations. It also gave me the blessing where, in a backhanded kind of way, because I didn't have the extra expenses of supporting someone else in that fashion, of nurture, in a financially way, is what I mean by supporting children. I was able to make it ahead and actually learn. It caused me to want to learn money management, financial management, different ways of looking at things. And to not, coming from a place of poverty, especially when I was so young, it also helped me with dealing and learning resilience when it came to looking at how I spend and making sure I spend and invest wisely. Knowledge is power, and it gave me that self-discipline. It gave me that ability to really stand in my authority and create a structure around it. And so as much of a grief and loss as it was, it also delivered me unexpected blessings and opportunities as well, where I can live a comfortable life where I had so much discomfort before. And if that resonates, by all means, share your thoughts in the comments below. Share your story in the comments below. Because like I say, I normally would not talk so much about my life. But one thing I think about Mother's Day is that we don't honor the mothers that have lost children along the way. This is where we can all come together, standing as the queens that we are in our divine feminine. Stand in our strength in our femininity, as well as stand in our charisma, and embrace that optimism again, because we have the nurturing sense of a mother within each and every one of us. And like I say, the biggest justice about it is, though I will not get to experience my children in this life, I know that they're loved. I know they're watched over. And in turn, I know that they're watching over me in the same ways that my mom did for me, and that I hopefully was able to return the favor in kind for her when she was going through those transitions. I'm just saying. And this is where I was able to leave conflict behind me. I was able to surrender to that stress, but more importantly, I was able to appreciate and find peace in knowing that my children are cared for, and I will always have them with me. They will always be with me, no matter what, from this lifetime to the next. And it gave me that peace. It gave me that universal balance where I could instead learn to build again. And like I say, give me the opportunities with the strength of the sun. You know, the sun really, it typically has a child in it. But what it really speaks to is running towards life with charisma, with faith, with positivity, and being fearless. To not let those fears, those pains, those griefs knock us down and keep us down, but instead find the strength within those losses that make us stronger, so that we can help others through it when they encounter those types of aspects, when they encounter aspects that really knock them down, cause them to feel that pain and grief that frankly makes them feel alone, like no one will understand them. This is where I was able to be blessed with good fortune. And I hope that I'm doing that on this channel. But like I say, I've also been blessed in a lot of ways where young people tend to gravitate towards me. And I've been able to step into that nurturing role, that mentorship role, give comfort when it's needed, and move towards the world, move towards the wheel, turn my fortune, because the universe knows, and I know, that the universe supports me. The universe knows that I'm meant to support as well. And so, like I say, this is my story. I hope it resonates with you as well. But more importantly, the biggest reason why I wanted to do this message is because in a lot of ways I felt so alone, so misunderstood. And let me tell you, the gentleman that I thought was my first love that ended up needing to walk away from it because it was too heavy and hot-handed to handle, in a lot of ways, it gave me peace, where I was able to still support him, lift him up, and praise him in my life, even though we're not physically connected. We don't speak, I'll just be real. Even though he wanted to tarnish my name, make every excuse for projecting on how, I mean, literally, I will say the lies that I got to find later, because his sister and his family still at different times have connected with me. The amount that he holds against me is a projection of how much pain he pains himself with not being able to stand up to that. And I feel so bad for him in that way, and I just want to remove that pain from him in the worst way. But I also find so much comfort and peace in knowing that he got to fulfill his wish. He has 3 beautiful children. He has a beautiful partner who is absolutely amazing. I don't necessarily personally know her, but through, like I say, my non-biological sister from that family, she's gotten to tell me how wonderful she is, because true story, they were best friends since early childhood. And the wonderful things that this woman has gifted that family with, has gifted him with, I am forever in debt to her. And I just want to say I am so blessed to be able to still have so much love for both of them and for their family. And so what I also wanted to put out here is that what Spirit wants us to really know in this message is that choosing to know the truth because you can, opening your inner vision, is truly your magic through grief, through pain. It allows you to see things from a different light. It allows you to let go from past, but it also helps you make room for a better life. Because again, there were times I couldn't walk. I had to choose quality over quantity. But through all of that, I got magic from it. I got wisdom from it that allowed me, and I got support that allowed me to rise up and to be that bright light for other people, for someone who needed it, to be that person that was a support system for someone who felt alone in it. And this is something, like I say, that we just don't talk about enough. And so I hope that this message gives you the peace. I hope that your story has found the same navigation towards embracing your magic, because through all the pain, through all the loss, through all the grief, it really led me on my path of spirituality. It connected me with the divine, and when I felt so alone, that's where I got to connect. I was lifted up, and I rose once again. Now, I also wanted to just pull these cards here as well. This is interesting. So the first thing, again, is that we pulled the fox. This is where it taught me new things. It taught me to listen to my instincts, look at the resources around me, but also to, sorry, I've got my little fur baby here. He just automatically woke up from his nap and came onto my lap here. So sorry I bumped the camera there. But this allowed me to learn wisdoms that aren't typically shared, aren't typically experienced, and aren't typically taught, so that I could lift people up in their unique story as well. This is also where it taught me perseverance. Not only do I have a high pain threshold because of it, not going to lie, but it taught me to never give up. It taught me then with patience, with the power of the mind, I could overcome it, that there was light in the darkness. And in fact, my light was able to shine brighter, was to shine brightest through that darkness because of my connection with the divine. There was never a point that I wasn't supported, even though I was going through it and felt like I was alone. Even when I had to stand independently, like I say, being misunderstood. I've had, and like I say, I've been told, or I always, it's hard not to get offended when a woman that doesn't know you or know your story says, oh, so you just didn't want kids? And it's like, okay, let me break this out. It's a heavy load. Are you sitting down? Can't have kids. Here's my story, right? To stand in that independence with strength, to know and become a natural healer because of it, I was delivered a gift. And even when I've been told I'm just a single lady that doesn't have kids, that I don't have a stake in the game when it comes to community, I've been able to help lift others up within my community, help support through different ways, different avenues, different ventures, mentorships, nurturing aspects. And it's not only just in the human quality, right? It's nurturing everything around you in all the seeds that you sow. It helped me to embrace those creative projects and practices that really led me on my path to being a natural healer and a creative arts healer, which again is why I started this channel. But this is where I got to find my faith in knowing that life supported me, and I hope you find your faith in knowing that life supports you in every way, even when you're dealing with something being taken from you before you're ready to have it, having to bury your children earlier than you anticipated. Like I say, no parent should ever have to go through the pain of burying their children before they die. It is not easy, and it's something that is so hard to articulate. The pain that comes with it, the grief, the loss of future, the loss of memories, of moments to be able to create those memorable moments. It delivers you gifts and makes room for more opportunities where you can then turn it around and give back and help lift people up so that they in turn can pay it forward just the same. And so I truly hope that this message helps. I am sending all my love and light to you for all my divine feminines that have had to lose children or have had to not be able to experience them, go through the struggles of infertility. I hope you have a wonderful Mother's Day. I see you in all your beautiful mothering aspects, and I will see you in the next reading.